Today in the crypto space, we see the market showing a lot of weakness. Bitcoin and Ethereum down approximately 7%, hitting critical levels. And some of these altcoins, the rest of the space is pretty much bleeding out, coming down to those levels as well. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but I definitely want to focus on Bitcoin, the general market, and at the end of the day, figuring out whether we should be accumulating or we should be waiting for further fire sales to be had in the immediate short term. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunity. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 8 p.m. EST, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with this market, because of course the FUD is escalating as we do see the total market cap coming down and reaching that, $3 trillion mark, down approximately 7.6% today. And the worst part is the trading volume, meaning that there's a lot of people in consensus and are creating this sell pressure. A lot of market participation on the sell-off. Not a good look. However, guys, the good news is that we anticipated this. We anticipated that if the daily time frame were to come down to oversold conditions, we would definitely get a sell-off, and the targets were clear. And of course, we're going to talk about those targets. We're going to talk about the scenario. We'll talk about the Bitcoin chart, and we'll focus on what we should be doing here market-wide. Because at the end of the day, if Bitcoin continues selling off and coming down to lower levels, guys, we're going to see a lot of sell-off continuation to the upside, to the downside. We'll see a lot of these altcoins come down even further. And a lot of us think, can altcoins even come down more? Guys, the reality is yes, the altcoins could definitely sell off. So let's just keep it cool right now. In this scenario, the best thing to do is to stay neutral. The reality is that we are dipping down, and that's the truth. However, the critical levels of structure for the most part are still holding up. The issue here is ultimately, do we get a proper recovery? Do we get a confirmation? Do we get confirmation highs, lower highs, in the sense to give us that indication that maybe we're in a downtrend here? And if we are in a downtrend, that's when we have to realize that any relief to the upside is an opportunity to de-risk. Right? Selling right now or getting too bearish right now, you're selling at a bottom. Now, if you are going to de-risk, wait for some relief. Wait for a relief rally, even if it is on lower time frames. Exit the position from a position of strength as well, and that way you can mitigate some of the losses. Now, as you can see, that Bitcoin is down 7%, and we see Ethereum doing the same thing. Just keep in mind that these are 1 hour fractals here, which means that they're very low time frame type of scenarios, right? And ultimately, as I'm scrolling, you can see that the general market so far is down approximately 5 to 10% on average, right? So it is a significant dip, coupled in with what happened yesterday and the day before and the rest of the month. The altcoins particularly have been coming down significantly back to bear market bottoms of which we would never expect to hit so quickly in a bull run. Now, obviously, are we in a bull run? A lot of people thinking, are we in a bull run, or are we just playing games here and maybe shaking people out before we actually run? Is it going to be a delayed season, Bitcoin season? Are we getting an altcoin season? Is it going to be an extended season? Maybe extended, where we go for a bigger cycle. Is it going to be a super cycle where in fact we start going up to much higher levels than ever expected? And this is the bigger consolidation that we need for eventually for that to happen. All of these things are possible. However, guys, in the short term, you have to take it for face value for what the price is telling you. Guys, the bearishness is here. And this is why I always told you, be careful, be a ninja. I know that the 4-hour has been giving us good trading opportunities. I know that the 1 hour is giving us good trading opportunities. However, guys, when the daily is in consensus with a rollover, and potentially showing weakness, we need to understand that every long that you take on lower time frames goes against the daily sentiment, which means that you got to get in and you got to get out. You can't be holding longs for that long. You're gotta have to understand that if the daily goes against your trades, this is what kind of pain you have to endure. And we have been seeing the daily fully reset on a lot of the altcoins even further, and on Bitcoin definitely coming down, gives us that reset momentum that we look for so we can buy in oversold conditions. Those are usually the best conditions to accumulate. So as we keep on going down here, we do see, a lot of fire sales, 13% for BitTensor Tau. Who would have thought that BitTensor would be down so hard like this? In big picture, it's not doing that bad, big picture. But the reality is, it is a bit of a fire sale here. And there's a few more. As you can see, Sonic, down 11.5%. I'm eyeing a few buys on Sonic, and mostly on the DeFi aspect of Sonic and its ecosystem. This is the opportunity to pile in. Obviously, I'm going to be very patient here, slow and steady, spot only, guys, spot only, and do it slow and steady. Put yourself on a schedule, buy yourself every 20% dip, buy in once a week, get yourself a bit of a routine, a strategy on how you're going to deploy, so that you ensure that you're DCAing as we're coming down, instead of DCAing as we're going up. That usually entails that you're buying higher prices. Even though you can technically be buying higher prices on the way down, at least you're buying a dip. You're not buying tops. You're not becoming the risk of being exit liquidity, which is super important. And as we do come down, we do see a lot of dips, guys. There's a lot of dips everywhere. Some looking good, like Maker still looking great. Nothing wrong here. 42% to the upside for Maker. And then all of a sudden, we also see Say looking pretty good, holding steady sideways. These are random anomalies, guys. Be careful with random anomalies. And the reason why I say be careful with random anomalies is because technically the sentiment of the market is bearish. While these few run up, eventually they could lose steam and, basically follow the rest of the market, which would put you in a very, very, ugly scenario, because you're buying into a pump. In this case, even if it's only a 4% pump or a 5% pump, imagine getting rejected right now and inheriting the bearishness throughout the entire asset class, which wouldn't be that great. We know that right now crypto is in a bit of a slump, so we got to understand the random anomalies could definitely follow that slump eventually, so be careful out there. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's begin by looking at Bitcoin. What is going on here with Bitcoin? Ultimately, Bitcoin is the project that I want to focus on today. Why? Because if Bitcoin keeps on coming down, guys, it's not looking good. However, if Bitcoin gets some support here, it could be the best bounce ever. And of course, we'll talk about this. Let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. So I'm not going to be bullish. I'm not going to be bearish. I'm going to do my best just to be neutral and explain both the bearish and bullish thesis. And I think that's a viable stance at the current moment, guys, right? You don't want to be overly bearish, because this could be a real shakeout, a last shakeout before we actually go nuts. In fact, if you look on chain, there's some whales buying Bitcoin at the current moment, right? So we got to understand that whales take full advantage of the fear. But is the fear over? And this is the bigger concern, right? This first dip could be the beginning of multiple other dips. What about if we do get a nice bounce here? What about if we use the confluence of the base of this little channel? We use the confluence of the top of the volume gap. We use the confluence of the 200 daily EMA, and we use the confluence more or less of this diagonal trend line that if at the end of the day we close a daily candle above it, it's been respected. So it's still okay. Ultimately, what about if we get that bounce here? It could be a great recovery. Maybe we go up, maybe we continue. Again, I'm smoking lots of hopium here, right? But at the end of the day, it's possible. However, there is no indication of that, especially here on the daily. None whatsoever. No clues, no evidence. If you happen to go long right here and it eventually, starts pumping, you know what? Congrats. You fluked it off. There's no data here telling us that that's what's going to happen. So you're taking a bit of risk there. Now, in addition to this, we have to understand that there's other levels. The first level that I want to bring to your attention is the fact that we broke below the 92,000 level, right? More or less. This is the level that I was focusing on, guys. If as long as we hold right into this level, we're doing okay because we're not changing character. But guess what, guys? We got to confirm lower low off this structure. This is confirmed right now. Like if it closes daily like this, it's confirmed. It's got to close the daily candle, obviously, to really confirm. But I can't anticipate that we're going to get a quick buy up and close above the thick white line at 91,700. Guys, it's possible. It might happen. You know, I'm going to be live tonight at 8 p.m. EST. We'll see what happens. But ultimately, the probability is like it may not, okay? Good sell pressure, as you can see, sell volume, lots of market participation in the sell-off, which means that now all of a sudden we're worried. We're worried about creating a downtrend. We did not make a lower high. This was a double top. We did not make a lower high. However, like I mentioned, we might confirm a lower low. Now, if we make a lower low, the best thing to do, especially if you plan on exiting, is to see what happens with the bullish response. It could even be a response of which gets rejected right here and comes down for another lower low. Horrible. That would be really bad. It could be a one that gets back in the structure, fakes people out, gets rejected right here based on the volume, the point of control, you know, a level of which some emotions exist, get rejection and come down for that lower low. And you can see that if that happens, we're starting to create a trend where we're coming down, maybe lower lows and lower highs. And the only reason why I'm entertaining this is because, number one, it's the bearish thesis. As you can see, it is the bearish thesis that we start making lower lows and lower highs, and this confirming a lower low begins the change of character. It's the change of direction. This becomes the pivot point structure. And this is why, exactly why, I decided to scale out of my positions out at this level. I got into margin positions all throughout this. I got into some good leverage positions, of course, and some spot positions that I took a bit of profit on right here. And I'm happy I did, because I knew that something was going to happen here. Either we're going to continue going sideways and eventually break out, and I needed to rotate some of those gains into something else, which I did. I rotated into some good projects that were at bottom levels. However, they're right now not looking the greatest, but I know that I took profit on the projects that were flying here, and I rotated into ones that were bottomish right here. Now, I do have dry powder to deploy, and the question is, should I deploy now? The thing is that we don't know where the bottom is going to be here, guys. Don't pretend that you do, right? No one on socials is going to tell you exactly where the bottom is, okay? They're going to do their best to convince you that this could be the bottom, and they're going to do their best to convince you that maybe this is the bottom. The reality is that nobody knows. It's just a game of probability. And if the data presents itself, we can increase or decrease probability. I'm telling you right now, there's a good chance we might get a bounce right here. And I'm slowly wanting to get into the bullish thesis. But before we do that, just understand that the biggest opportunity for a bull is this empty volume gap. The fair value gap is one of which the price and, you know, basically reaches equilibrium with supply and demand. This is where longs and shorts, you know, basically hit a gridlock. And it would be nice to see everything reset. It would be nice to see everything kind of calm down in this zone. And that usually happens with an equal response where we do see the bears fly through this volume gap and maybe come down to the worst case scenario, which is right around 73, 72K. Guys, we have to understand that it's possible. Now that I'm here, I would like to emphasize the importance of the CME gap that is at 77. This is a thesis that a lot of people are talking about. And the reason why people are talking about it is because a lot of the times they do get filled. We have to understand that's all very possible. So what I'm going to do, because the CME gap is fairly important, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a horizontal right there, right around 75 to 77. Let's be a little bit right around here, okay? If we can come down here, obviously we can get some support, and because of the CME gap acting like a magnet and pushing down, we would have broken trend, we would have broken below the 200 daily, we would have done a healthy retracement through the volume gap, and still possibly, and still, if we get that support right here, it would still be considered a higher low. So we made a higher low and higher highs all the way up here. Higher high, obviously. What about a higher low down to about 75, 72, something like that? That's still possible and still very bullish. We are not bearish if we come down to here. You got to understand, we're still in an uptrend, guys. Bitcoin is still in an uptrend. Even if we come down, the reality is we'll still be in an uptrend even if we came down to 60,000. And I don't think we're going to go there straight. You know, I'm just doing it level by level. Right now we're talking about, you know, 87. That, guys, it respected that TA perfectly, as you can see, almost down to the wick. Let's quickly go on the 4-hour. Actually, before we do that, let's take what the oscillators are looking like. You can see that on the daily, we've gotten oversold. We're getting there. Like, we're in oversold conditions right now, below the 30%, which is the ideal place to start accumulating. And coupled with the fact that there's a mean reversion possible happening here, it might not be a bad time to start DCAing, especially once we start seeing indications of bearish weakness, which would be a bullish divergence. We would like to see a bullish divergence in oversold conditions, coupled with a nice market structure that suggests pivot, and that way we can get in with a position of strength with a nice stop loss to mitigate risk. So right now it's entering that zone, but not quite there. A bit early. EMA is facing down, red histogram bars. The expansion is coming in hot right in the background, as you can see, the blue one. Guys, if it comes down, it's coming down in the bearish control zone, as can be seen. Bitcoin could be falling in the next little while. So be careful, right? So that's the bearish scenario. And of course, the bullish scenarios, we need to wait, guys. The bounce could happen here. The quick recovery could happen here, but there's no indication. And if it does have a V recovery, guys, all good in the hood. We're going to definitely start running to the upside. And if you bought some dips, congrats, you took the risk, congrats. And if you didn't, all good, because really, if you've been buying into this level, we get a V recovery, will you really care if we go up to 120, 130? So have that mentality too, guys. You don't want to over deploy too quickly, because then you're going to run out of dry powder. I'd rather wait to see some confirmations down here to deploy bigger bags than to start deploying heavily into here. Okay, so that's my strategy. Now let's get onto the 4-hour real quick. I'm going to get into a bit of detail here on the 4-hour, and you can see how beautiful this structure was. It allowed us to step by step track what Bitcoin was doing. It broke below here, ugly, fine. This was the 92, ugly, bounce, nothing, came down right through. Here we are. If you entered shorts, congrats. If you got into this scenario, congrats. A lot of people, including myself, believed that the 92 would give a little bit more support. It didn't. Now, the only thing that we're hoping on, and you can see how good this TA basically held up at this horizontal, okay? The only thing that we're waiting for is potentially a V recovery, which would be great. Maybe a rounded bottom, which would be awesome, and then a break of this horizontal to get back into structure, backtest and spring, right? What basically would be nice to see is a swing failure pattern. Get back above, backtest and spring. That would be awesome as well. But in the meantime, if we come back up, get rejected, guys, this is your chance to exit, or this is your chance to make some critical decisions. Even if we break back into structure, if we make a lower high right around here, guys, it's another opportunity to worry, to say, you know what, maybe I'm going to exit some positions and prepare for another lower low where we start breaking down below this low, and entertaining the fact that this empty volume gap could allow the price to come down to here, which is again back to these tops to hunt liquidity right around this level. Guys, there's still a lot. Again, the $75,000 mark for the CME gap is still possible. All that is still possible. However, guys, if we can get some confirmations of a reversal, it would be okay. Guys, unfortunately, I have no choice but to be bearish now on the 4-hour. The 4-hour is bearish. The 4-hour looks like garbage. The daily, it still has a bit of hopium, like I mentioned, but the 4-hour now looks really, really bad. And if the daily continues showing that weakness and that bearishness, the 4-hour is going to be in a downtrend for a little while, guys. It could be in a downtrend for the next week, maybe a week and a half. And in that case, what we're really waiting for is a quick divergence on the daily. The 4-hour might get it. We might get that relief to the upside, like I'm mentioning, as a confirmation, backtest, rejection type of thing, a lower high or whatever the case may be up here, and that could be a quick response on the 4-hour. Oh, everything's oversold, maybe a response to overbought conditions. And if the response from the bulls does not make us a higher high and it makes a lower high, like I mentioned, guys, it's likely that we're going to make lower lows and lower highs, and that's the confirmation that we need here to get bearish, continue getting bearish. And if you look at the 4-hour, EMAs are facing down, red histogram bars. It's not a good look for the bulls at the current moment, guys. So I hate to be bearish, but the reality is we need to keep this in mind. The real opportunities in this type of market is the bearish price action. Why? Because now you get to buy projects on sale. The problem is that a lot of us start getting in too heavy and too aggressive without a plan. For me, this is the plan. If we come down, we are down here. We are down here. If we get a pivot point structure, again, inverse head and shoulders, cup and handles, Adam and Eve's, I am in. I will be deploying some capital here, but not yet. Not yet. If we do get back above, back test in spring, I think I may hold on and not buy any. Why? Because I loaded up into this area and I'm really happy with my positions. If we get a V recovery and get back in overnight, I'm happy with that. I'm all good. However, the reason why I'm okay with it is because it is much more important for me to have capital and the amount of capital that I want if we come down here. It's much more important to me to have that dry powder here than to deploy it into here. Because the opportunity, the reward of getting into a less risky scenario with this retracement is much more valuable than me just scaling up a position at the same price that I already scaled it in or very close to it. You have to understand, from a trading perspective, from an investment perspective, you want to be able to accumulate at the best opportunities. And the only opportunities for an investor or a trader is to buy when it's as low as possible. Right now, it's not as low as possible. There's still a good possibility that we come down even for another a quick wick to the downside. So I'm putting some really cheeky longs right down here, just in case this happens overnight. I want to be able to catch some good buys. But again, guys, I'm not buying only Bitcoin. I'm buying some large caps. I'm looking at ADA positions. I'm looking at AVAX. I'm looking at many others, some DeFi, some this, some that. And at the end of the day, I'm hoping that we get a recovery here, because a lot of people are coming out now saying that we are potentially going to get into a bear market. And then I question what happened to the cycle and what happened to the bull run. Okay, because really, we didn't get it, guys. It's not just about Bitcoin. That's another thing. It's not just about Bitcoin. Track the total market cap. The total market cap is probably the best indication of what's really happening here with the crypto space. We have to understand that, yes, Bitcoin is in a class of its own lately because of the ETF, but so is ETH. Right? The reality is, so is ETH. ETH is an ETF and it's heavily accumulated. However, guys, the total market cap gives you an indication of how this industry is holding up. And as you can see, we're coming down. And if it's coming down based on Bitcoin's falling, or it's coming down based on alts falling, guys, at the end of the day, we have to be prepared regardless if it's Bitcoin, altcoins, Ethereum, this or that. It does not matter. We have to prepare, because if capital is going to be exiting the space, crypto might definitely take a bit of a hit. Now, if you look at the total market cap, guys, we're still in an uptrend. Like Bitcoin, of course, look at this. We're still in an uptrend. We could definitely come down here very healthily to about 2.6 trillion dollar market cap, get a bit of a bouncy bounce, and then continue to the upside for a higher high, and 5-6 trillion, here we come. Okay, so just keep in mind that I know it's really bearish out there. The bearish opportunities, when there's blood on the street, is usually the best time to get involved, start studying, get that watch list going, and be prepared. Slow and steady DCA. Guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is, it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.